We've done a ton of work. I will cover all of the transformation in a separate video. We didn't have time this week if we were gonna make it drag racing. You guys asked for a layout on what it is we planned on doing when we got here. So here's my layout. We showed up with a 60 gear. We did 17 miles per hour. That was horrible, but we knew that was gonna happen. We managed to get the 42 on, but we got rained out. So we're gonna see what this does for a baseline to start today. I've got a 26 up here because this is what Coleman claims that the bike supposedly did stock. But we're gonna pull this 6 off and we're gonna put a 3 there because that's the reality that everybody ended up finding, was that, well, Coleman kind of lied in their testing. So we've got a 42 to start with. We're gonna do the zip tie governor delete later on. We've got a small exhaust. We've got stage 1 air intake. We gotta do a governor delete at some point. We will probably do that after the air intake. We've got a bigger exhaust, and NR Racing, we're working with NR Racing in order to do this entire setup. I love their shirts and everything. I'm not wearing it because this thing just sticks right to your back in this 90-degree heat, but I wanted to big a shout out to them. And we have parts, including a cam that we have never used before. So we've got the stage 1 extra Chinesium parts. We have jet kit for days. Let's go start playing with this thing.
This first launch has the governor still in play, so we're not after a speed run. We're after just making sure all the improvements, the stabilizer, the rear foot pegs, and the new tires are worth something.
Well, we made a very uneventful first pull, which is good. We've got a pretty bike next to a pretty girl, and she's putting in our new mile-per-hour top, which is 25. So we'll set you guys the ticket here so you can see it. We're at 24.8. We're gonna round it to 25. We cut an entire 6 seconds off of our 8th mile, which is great, but we're also running the stock governor in this thing. So we're gonna grab a zip tie. We're gonna zip tie the governor spring so that we can punch it into 4,000 plus and see what it does. Thank you to my very lovely assistant, Jessie. She's gonna run the throttle. If she goes back and forth, what we're gonna see is we've got this that expands. So if you take an old-fashioned zip tie and you run it through that spring so that it cannot move, that's a zip tie governor override. Zip tie governor override complete. After borrowing some zip ties that would show better in video. Thank you, Nate. I think my pit crew still needs a little Miracle Grow. He's awful obsessed with those foot pegs.
Sorry for how long it takes me to stage. This whole inching forward with your toes while they're on the rear foot peg thing, I've only ever done once before, earlier today. So let's try and set this light and get going.
There we go. We're finally starting to go decent. We got 35 miles per hour, 34.5 at 16 seconds. We're like as fast as a Volkswagen Beetle in first gear. But when you consider we started at 17, the 40 got us faster than stock, the zip tie governor delete got us 35. I am sick of my butt roasting. We're gonna do the small exhaust next. I know everybody likes air filters first because they're pretty, but I have got to get that thing out from under my butt. Man, check out that massive restriction that was going on there. So that pipe is really small, and it's enclosed in that teeny tiny muffler. We've got this one here that we bought because Jesse likes purple, and it showed up blue. So we ended up ordering another purple, and ironically ended up with a small and a big exhaust. So we're gonna try the small blue one first and then go with the big purple one later. I don't care whether that gives me any more power or faster or anything. That is worth it just to not burn the family jewels. That is so much nicer to ride. On a side note, for some reason the idle dropped 400 RPM by dropping that onto there. Not entirely sure. I mean, in theory, airflow from box to there should be the same. But by opening that up, we dropped 400 RPM in the idle. So I was actually worried it was going to lean out and idle high, but instead it actually idled down. Well, I really like the fact that now all the heat goes that way instead of going this direction. I actually gained a mile per hour in the run. So we ended up with a run of 36.9 by 15.4, which puts us actually a full second faster just by adding the exhaust. So we've done start at 17, we're at 36 now, and we're going to do a stage 1 air filter on it. I'm telling you, it's hard to find a pit crew you can rely on. I mean, this one fell asleep and the other one's using him as an excuse. Added note about this exhaust pipe that I don't know if the 360 camera caught, but I actually turned 5,500 RPM. So we ended up gaining 500 RPM without changing the throttle after doing that exhaust. So the flow did help. I'm in here staging up the stage 1 pod filter, and what I noticed was that every time I would turn the choke, it was getting like stuck. It wouldn't quite turn all the way. And the problem is I had to put a giant spacer in here so that that nub wasn't hitting this bolt. I'm assuming that on the better quality ones that this must be over slightly further. But yeah, we're gonna get it slapped together and go see what it does. Remember, we still have a governor in this. We're just running zip ties because if I blow it up, so be it. I've got a spare one. Well, that's a bit of a quibble. I can't put my leg back without slamming into the filter. I guess we're running no filter. Let's see what she'll do. John's on kill tether duty. We got it started up. I'm really surprised I haven't changed the jet yet. Oh, that was a lot more kick. John, put your hand there. Don't push down on the seat. Whoa! Ha ha! Hey, save it for the track. Pull it. Oh yeah. She's got a lot more in her now.
Little drag racing etiquette here. If you don't know whether the other person next to you does a burnout, stage just above the burnout box in your lane and verify whether they do or don't. before you stage to the tree. In this case, this gentleman pulls right straight up, so let's go.
No air filter because my leg wouldn't fit. Jesse just got done doing the board, and we're at 38, actually 38.4. So we've gone from 17 to 38.4 with basically $70 worth of parts. Like the gear was 26, I think. A zip tie was free from a friend. The smaller exhausts were still running, was only 20 something. And I'll post links for everything in the description down below. But we didn't quite break 40. I don't know. I don't think we're going to do the governor delete today. I think we're going to probably come back. We're going to talk it out. We'll see. There are some days you should leave well enough alone. And then there's other days where your friend has like a massively insane fast motorcycle and wants to run, test, and tune. And you really want to have just that little bit of extra speed. So I think we're going to try and do the jack shaft delete on this, which will get us a little bit more top end. But I don't know whether we'll bog out on the strip when we try to take off. Well, we did the conversion. I'm not quite sure on the spacing here whether I like it or not. I think it's a little too far in. I do have another really wide washer, but the problem is I have a very short bolt, and I think I'd rather take the chance of skimming the chain than lose my clutch going down the drag strip.
We had no issue at all while driving around the pits, but notice the tone difference when we hit the grip at the staging area. Gear ratio was just way too tall. I couldn't get it to clear 4,000 RPM if I had to. As I contemplate my choices looking at this ticket, I notice that the gentleman I just went up with has staged again. And say to heck with it, let's burn this clutch down and see whether it was a fluke. I figure at this point, I'll just push off the start, see if I can get it going. Yeah, not trying that idea again. I got my foot stuck to the racetrack and almost dumped it off to the left a bit.
Well, I can't say as I'm surprised. The jack shaft Hail Mary actually lost us mile per hour. We ended up at 19.3 and we were running at 15.3. So we lost there too. I think that the answer is this poor little max torque just plain hit the end of what it could put up with from us. That thing is boiling insanely hot, and I think we just roasted the pucks right out of it, because I had a better launch on the 35 mile per hour and I ended up doing worse.
finish this video out somewhere that's a little bit cooler because it's just plain stupid hot out right now. Okay, we definitely have maxed out the max torque clutch. It just is what it is. And it's time to go to a torque converter. The other reality is you're on borrowed time if you're doing a zip tie governor delete. Sooner or later, everything's going to come unglued in there. So we need to do the governor delete. There's no sense in continuing to run the stock rod at that point. I think what we're going to do is follow this up with building the block out with the Amazon Chinesium upgrades that we had talked about. Probably going with an NR Racing rattlesnake cam, but we've got the Chinesium flat piston, we've got Chinesium billet rod, we've got the Chinesium flywheel, and we can switch it over and see how that does. I've got a second block that we might be able to build out with the actual parts. Maybe we could do a Chinesium versus ARC real parts or something like that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe we could do insane Chinesium budget build versus not so Chinesium budget build. I don't know. I don't know the right way to word it. But you guys get the idea. Thank you very much for watching and for supporting the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.